Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about webhooks. I know that we've briefly touched on webhooks in this deep dive section of building AI agents in the workflow triggers section, but that was kind of just a trigger. And so, what I want to talk about more is a little bit more in depth how they work. We're going to be sending over some requests here, and we'll look at some examples that should hopefully make it a little more clear in your mind. I remember when I first started, I thought that webhooks were really intimidating. I had no idea how to connect to different services, but it's really, really simple. And so we're just going to look at that, right? So all we're going to do here first to start off is add a webhook trigger. This screen's going to pop up. You've got a couple things to configure within your webhook, which is, first we see a test URL and a production URL. Nothing really changes in here as far as the path and like where it's being hosted. Just that right here you can see webhook-test, and then right here we just have webhook. So for now, we're going to be doing a test URL when we're testing out this event. If the workflow up here is not active, we need to have this webhook actively listening. So right now it's waiting for us to call it, and we're going to be using a service called Postman. It's free to test out if you want to just see how this stuff works, where you can send over requests. And so because Postman is sending us a request, we need to be listening for a post, because Postman is sending over that post request. So I know that's a little confusing because you'd think, well, in N8N, if we have a webhook in N8N, don't we want this webhook to be getting information? Which is what I always thought. But nope, that is not right. You want to set this up as a post request, because that's how Postman's going to get it back. And I'll actually show you guys this real quick. So real quick, the path, we're just going to call this one demo. It doesn't change anything as far as, just the URL, just changes the end of the URL. And we'll talk about some of this other stuff in a sec. But we've copied our test URL. We'll hit test workflow for it. So now we're listening. We'll go into Postman, paste in that URL, and we're going to change this to a post request. What we want to do here is just set up some information to send over. So let's just say we're going to send over name, which we'll go with Michael, and then we're going to send over a phone number, and this will just be 555. Okay, so we've got that. We'll hit send, and we're going to get an error. So 404 error, not found. This webhook is not registered for post requests. Did you mean to make a GET request? So as you can see in here, it didn't work because we have GET. All I'm going to do is change this to a post. We'll hit test step, so we're listening again. Come back into here, send off another request, and this time we got a 200 success okay message where we got workflow was started. So now back in here, you can see we actually captured information. What we got was these are the body parameters that we just entered, which was Michael and then his phone number. And then, as you can see, we get a ton of other stuff back, like our headers as far as the user agent. We have our Postman token. We have our host, which is the nateherc.app N8N cloud, as you can see, which is in our URL right here. So that's the kind of stuff we're getting back, right? And because you see here, we have response as immediate rather than when the last node finishes or using respond to webhook node. That's why immediately we got this response back that just said the workflow was started. If you wanted to have this basically send off information, and then in N8N on the back end, we'd be going through logic. So let's say we were going to put Michael in our CRM. We would then add like a Airtable node or an OpenAI node and like do some stuff. And then at the end of the workflow, we would add back in a respond to webhook node. And so this is basically going to respond with whatever you set it to. It could be the first incoming item. It could be JSON that you set. You've got your response code of 200. If it's successful, you can set up your headers as well. But that's sort of what that looks like. And I was honestly having a little trouble doing this in Postman just because I think it was sort of a test environment. So I'm going to show you guys a different example where we are listening for a webhook and then we send it something back. But yeah, this is how you can set up the body. You've got your headers. You could have to sometimes put the content type JSON. In this case, we're sending over really simple JSON, and we didn't actually have to do that. Let's see. If we would have went to raw and we would have sent over, like, let's say we wanted to send over this basically. Workflow was started. Come back here, test this, send over that body, and we got message was started. And as you can see, now the message right here, workflow was started. So we still got that one over, even though we did JSON. Just to be aware that sometimes if you might have to come in here and set up, it's basically like content type, and then it's application JSON. So that's what it looks like. And then we can send this one over, and we should get that one as well. So there we go. We got it again. Okay, cool. So, in a practical sense, that first example where I did like name, phone, and then you could have email, a bunch of other parameters. If this was a webhook that was on your website, looking for form responses, every time someone submitted one, it would come through. And then from there, you could put that into your CRM automatically, email them automatically, and then respond to that webhook if you want to. You don't always have to. But let me show you an example now of, I've made a YouTube video about this, but this is going to be an example of um, us actually. Oh, I just realized though, I might have deleted this space. So we might have to fix that in a sec. But what's gonna happen here is the webhook's going to come through because we're going to be chatting with this guy in 11 labs, and then it's going to grab information, and then it's going to respond to the webhook because, as you can see, we set this up as respond to webhook node, and then in here we have it just coming through with the first incoming item. So whatever the agent actually gets back from this vector database is what is going to respond to 11 labs. And yeah, this is not going to work because there's actually no information in here. So let me do let's actually just pull up the voice email one because that one will work. Yeah, when I do all these demos, I end up just like deleting information, or yeah, just clearing out my Pinecone because I use it so much for testing. I should probably just create one for testing and one for some other stuff. But anyway, so this one's going to send an email. We've got this function set up, and you might have seen this video as well. But let's go ahead and come into 11 Labs real quick. Go to my email agent. We're going to test out this agent. I'm going to hit test workflow because we need the webhook to be listening, of course. And let's talk to the agent. Hey, Archer, can you send an email to nate@example.com asking what's up? Yep, no, that's going to be it. Okay, Archer, that's enough from you. Okay, so there's an issue here because it didn't actually send an email, but the purpose I'm trying to show you guys right here is that we saw it happen live. We got coming back was to nate@example.com. The email content is what's up. So that's what the 11 Labs agent used its brain to figure out what to send over to us in the post request. So that's what we got here. And then it fed that into the email agent. It said email for Nate, email content, what's up. So the agent just messed up and didn't know to send it to the agent or to the email tool. But the purpose here is that we responded to the respond to webhook node with, it seems the email content is quite informal for a professional email. Could you please provide more details, what you'd like to proceed? And then that is what the 11 Labs was listening for. And then this is what Archer said back to us. So let's try something again. Let's just try that again and see if we can actually get him to send one. So testing the workflow. Hey, Archer, can you help me send an email? It's going to be for bob@example.com. And I want you to ask him for an update about the last meeting that he had with his team. Nope, that's it. See, Archer. Okay. So as you can see, it sent off that post request to us. We got, oops, sorry. We got to bob@example.com with our email content. And I don't know why just saying what's up was too informal for him to actually send off, but he should have sent off that email, bob@example. It filled in the parameters, of course. Here's the actual email. But what we're trying to actually look at here is the fact that it was basically waiting to talk back to us and say that email was sent. It was waiting for confirmation from our N8N workflow that it was actually sent. So once 11 Labs saw this, the email has been sent to Bob Example with a request for an update. Then Archer back here in 11 Labs was able to say, awesome, I sent that off for you. So hopefully that gives you a good rundown of sort of how these webhooks work. It is something that super versatile because it's going to be sort of actively listening, as you know, rather than some of the other types of triggers, which may be sort of on a polling basis. But this one's always actively listening, which is cool. And then you're able to respond back to it pretty easily with just a respond to webhook node, which is also pretty cool. So kind of a similar concept of when you're setting up different agents within N8N and you have the execute when called by another workflow. So we're waiting basically for a main agent to send information over. We get the information, we take action, and then we respond back to that main agent with a response field. In this case, it's just a response webhook. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope this one was helpful.